Hello, police. Yeah, what's the problem, sir? We just drove down our farm track. Yeah. Go and feed our pheasants. We come across a Range Rover with 3 people in it. Yeah. It appears that they're dead. I don't know what's happening. Blood in the motor all over them.
And welcome back to a new video on the Essex Boys case. As always, if you are enjoying the content, please do give the video a thumbs up. And if you're interested in the Essex Boys case, or simply true crime in general, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below. The brother of murdered drug dealer Pat Tate was arrested at his Hadley home yesterday after allegedly being involved in a drug smuggling deal. Married Russell Tate, younger brother of notorious gangland boss Pat, was one of 6 men arrested in dawn raids all over Essex. Cannabis resin worth £30,000 was seized in a joint operation between Essex Police, the South East Regional Crime Squad and Customs and Excise. But police confirmed that the drugs were not found in Russell Tate's home. A police spokesman said, "The arrests were made by officers investigating the triple murder on a Rettendon farm track last December. Used car dealer Russell, 34, had just returned from a holiday in Spain, which he spent without his wife Nikki and their 3 children. His mum Marie, who has always maintained gangland villain Pat's innocence, defended her youngest son. Still reeling from the news told to her by her daughter-in-law, she said from her Lee home, quote, "They won't find any drugs around Russell's place. He's not involved in that kind of thing. He's squeaky clean. He's never been in trouble. It was always Pat that was the bad half. All this is getting too much." Police are still trying to find out what happened to drug dealer Pat Tate, 37, from Basildon, found blasted through the head with 2 pals, Craig Rolfe and Tony Tucker, 38. The 6 men are due to appear before Chelmsford magistrates today. Police named the men as Michael Steele, 53, Peter Corey, 44, from Clacton, Darren Nichols, 31, from Braintree, Colin Bridge, 40, also from Braintree, Jack Womes, 35, from Brockford, Suffolk, and Russell Tate. The following newspaper article is from the 12th of the 8th, 1996, with the headline, "Customs Blunder Sets Trio Free." 3 men accused of being involved in a drug smuggling ring walked out of court for the first time, released on bail. Russell Tate, brother of executed gangland hardman Pat, and 3 others charged with conspiracy to import cannabis were given conditional bail after customs officers forgot to send vital paperwork on time. Lawyers acting for Mr. Tate, 34, Paul Gwinnett, 49, from Frinton, and Craig Angelakos, 22, from Clacton, argued that without the custody order, the court had no right to continue holding the men. It was the first time Dad of 3, Mr. Tate, was able to see his wife and children at their Benfleet Road home since his arrest in May. Friday's Southend Magistrates Court hearing was delayed for several hours as both legal teams prepared their cases. Magistrate Kevin Gray heard that 2 more men facing charges of the triple Rettendon murders and conspiring to smuggle cannabis resin could also be released because their lawyers had not yet been given all the prosecution's paperwork because of a broken photocopier. Michael Steele, 53, of Great Bentley, and Jack Womes, 35, of Brockford, Suffolk, are accused of killing Pat Tate, Tony Tucker and Craig Rolfe. Customs and Excise lawyer John Butcher told the court that customs officers wanted to question all the accused again, but saw his argument that the custody order was procedural crushed by the defence in a 40-minute legal fight. After the hearing, Mr. Butcher remained tight-lipped. He would only say that no further action would be taken to keep the men in custody until their trial. Speaking outside the heavily guarded Court 4, he said, quote, "We can appeal against this decision, but we have decided not to. That is all I can say." All the men have been told to live and sleep at their own homes, not to apply for travel documents, not to talk with each other, not to contact prosecution witnesses, and to attend their local police stations twice a day. Mr. Steele and Mr. Womes will remain in custody for the time being. A 6th man, Peter Corey, 44, from Clacton, also facing conspiracy charges, will also remain behind bars because he is accused of other drugs offences. They are all due to appear at Belmarsh Magistrates Court, Woolwich on October 14th. The following newspaper article is from the 14th of the 12th, 1996, with the headline, "Drugs Turned Car Dealer into a Villain." Friends of murdered villain Patrick Tate, who was found shot with 2 other men in a Rettendon lane last Thursday, have blamed drugs for turning a successful car dealer into a gangland thug. Roger Pike, who had known Tate since he was 18 years old, said he started using steroids to help with his bodybuilding and then got into drugs during a stretch in prison. Other friends described the 18-stone drug baron shot 3 times at point-blank range in a car parked in a remote country track in Rettendon as a good friend who you could trust. Tate, 37, of Gordon Road, Basildon, used to run a car dealing business in Canvey High Road and before that in Orsett. He was well known to car dealers across South East Essex. He had convictions for armed robbery and drugs offences, and 2 days before he was killed, he beat up a pizza company manager over an argument about an order. Mr. Pike, owner of Pitsy Carriage Company in High Road, Pitsy, said, quote, "He was a very nice young lad when he was 18 or 19. You'd be happy to take your wife out for a meal with him. The drugs messed him up." He got mixed up in drugs in prison about 10 years ago. He was inside for a moment of madness when he robbed a caff at the Fortune of War roundabout over an argument about the bill. When they finally brought him back from Spain in 1989, he started getting heavily involved in drugs. We noticed a marked change in his character. Tate was extradited from Gibraltar in 1989, a year after fleeing from Billericay Magistrates Court, where he was facing armed robbery and drugs charges. Mr. Pike continued, "I know nobody's got a good word to say about him, and I am not trying to make a saint of him, but I am shocked and saddened for Pat because he had a lot of potential. Nobody deserves to die like that." He said his drug dealing was talked about on the grapevine and it was known he was quite well off. Another friend of Tate, who did not wish to be named, said, quote, "Pat was as good as gold. A lot of rubbish has been written about him. If he was worth so much money, why was he still doing car deals for £100 a time just before he died? He had sold cars to Tate in the past, but he could not remember whether he paid in cash, and Tate had taken a car from him to sell the night before he was shot." The following newspaper article is from the 3rd of the 9th, 1997, with the headline, "Slain Drug Kings Tricked." 3 drugs chiefs were slain with cold and merciless efficiency by Avenger accomplices as they sat in a Range Rover, a court heard yesterday. The 3 were killed after a dispute over a smuggled shipment of poor quality cannabis from the continent, the Old Bailey was told. They were lured to a remote farm track in Essex in December 1995 on the promise of a substantial future cocaine deal, the prosecution said. But as Patrick Tate, 37, Anthony Tucker, 38, and Craig Rolfe, 26, waited unsuspectingly in the vehicle, they were all shot dead through the head. Tate was the number 1 target the court heard, and the isolated rendezvous was carefully chosen to avoid witnesses. Michael Steele and his alleged right-hand man Jack Womes deny murdering the 3 men who were all from Basildon, Essex. Steele, Womes and Peter Corey of Clacton also deny conspiring to import cannabis into Britain in 1995. The trial continues. If you would like to learn more about the Range Rover murders, then click on the video in front of you now. You will also see the Essex Boys playlist, which has all of the videos concerning this case in one convenient folder. Many thanks for joining me for this video. I look forward to seeing you all again for the next one. Take care. Cheers.